lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. And here's your host, Miss Kim Robinson.
Defeated, and you're down for the count. You feel like life has thrown you blows and God ain't been around. But I've come to encourage you, so hold your head high. Know that God is in your corner now. Inner life, you are a winner. You just can't lose. Who burn a KO, more than a conqueror? Jesus in you. You are a winner. You were born to win.
Well, good afternoon and happy Saturday to all of you. This is From Powerless to Powerful. Yes, and I am your host, Rise and Win Coach Cynthia Newell of Dare to Dream. It is my divine desire to support individuals who feel powerless in their lives, to teach them how to release internal struggles effortlessly and walk in newness. My intention, my purpose for being here on earth is to encourage and empower through inspirational teaching, spiritual enlightenment, and guided transformation, because I'm a firm believer that we all deserve to start waking up to a life that we love. And in order for us to do that, we have to be intentional. And that's the focus of season 3, living intentional, making up your mind and moving forward in the direction of your dreams. And so if you desire to create a life that you look forward to waking up to, I want you to go to my website and grab a free copy of my ebook, which is titled Creating Your Life. My website is cynthianewell.com. It will help you. It's going to help you get clear about what you most desire, but not only that, it will help you define the pathway to it. Now, again, if you missed last week's show was a very, it was near and dear. We talked about self-script. So we're always talking to ourselves, whether we believe it or not, and it may not be audible, but we have this internal script, this internal talk that goes on inside of us. And if you listen to it, it's going to determine a lot of things. It's going to determine what you believe, your attitudes, your feelings, most importantly, your behaviors. And where does this self-talk come from? Last show I talked about it comes from, our programming. And so a lot of great information on that show. It was a teaching show about how to create a self-talk that will help you reach the goals, get to the destination, or even just enjoy the journey, as you're trying to build or you're working to create something, whether it's a marriage or a happier marriage or building a ministry, writing a book. There will be times and seasons where you'll doubt yourself. You'll feel that you cannot do it. You'll feel that, maybe your mind was just playing tricks on you. Maybe this is not for you. It'll get hard. All of the everything won't fall into place, but you have to have a healthy way of talking yourself through those moments so that you don't get stuck, so that you don't stop. And so that was the purpose of last week's show, to help you with the programming, to reprogram your mind for success. And it starts with what you say to yourself, the way that you talk to yourself. And so if you missed that show, you can grab it on my Facebook page, which is at From Powerless to Powerful. You can find me there, or you can go to Dare to Dream Spiritual Life Coaching on Facebook. I am excited today to have a very special woman on the show. We're talking about making it happen, all, intertwined with season 3, living intentional. Living intentional is where the magic happens. There's so much I want to say, but in order for you to make something happen, you have to first make a decision. You have to decide that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and then you have to live with integrity. That's what that I in intentional means to me, being integral. So this year I'm having my 2nd annual Sisterhood Empowerment Walk, and this year I had a vision. I wanted it to be bigger and better than last year. Last year I just did it on a whim as a way to cope with the death of my best friend, Darlene Boyd. I didn't want to slip into depression. I didn't want to stop moving. And so I said, what can I do that will represent our friendship? And so I put the walk together, just made an event on Eventbrite. About 50 women showed up, and it was a really good time. Well, this year I wanted to be more intentional, and I had my vision of what I wanted it to look like. I made a decision I was going to do it. I had, vendors that I wanted to have there, but it seemed like it was getting tough. Vendors were not responding. People that said that they were going to show up and that said they wanted to be a part was not responding to emails. I was going to do a T-shirt this year, and the guy that I was trying to work with and support, he was just not on top of his game. It was just a lot of frustrating things. But in that moment, I had to make a decision. Am I really going to make this happen? Am I going to stand up bigger, stand up taller, show up bigger, shine brighter, not let these things that make me second guess what it is that I've decided to do? Am I going to really make it happen? And so I had to make some decisions. I had to drop the T-shirt guy. Hey, you're not falling in alignment with the vision, so I'm going to move forward. I had to put together a strategy to reach out to specific vendors instead of just putting a random Facebook post out, hey, looking for vendors. Reach out to people that have small businesses or books and authors or, I had to do things differently and not be afraid of the fear of rejection or fear of my vision not unfolding as I desired, fear that I wouldn't have all that I needed. All of those things will come against you when you're trying to make something happen. So if you feel like, when those things happen to you, that it's the devil trying to stop you or God doesn't want you to have what you are praying for, that's not true. Opposition is going to come. It's all about how you handle it. Are you up on top of your game where you're going to find another route, find, another solution? Are you going to open yourself up in prayer and listen to God? And so, for the answers, so making your dreams and desires happen, it requires consistent, conscientious choices. Your decisions and your actions, they have to be in alignment with what it is that you want to make happen. And so that's why I'm honored to have Miss Stephanie Williams on my show today, talking about her journey to making her podcast happen, which is titled Mocha Minutes. I love this quote by Harriet Tubman. Let me see if I can find it. But it says, every dream begins with a dreamer. You can have a dream, but are you willing to do what's required to manifest the dream? And I think that's where a lot of us fall off. The minute we see some hard work or some opposition or something not flowing like we had hoped it would, what we were trying to do for some of us, it's really not important anymore. It's not worth all this energy. Maybe I'll start at a later date, but I just want to let you know that no matter when you start, you're going to have something that's going to present itself to you that will, if you interpret it this way, it will discourage you. It will make you feel as though you shouldn't do it right now. Now is not the best time, So in those moments where you feel powerless and optionless and overwhelmed and overworked, I want you to know that you still have some options and you can still make your dream happen. And Stephanie, she's going to talk to us about those moments in her life where when she was starting Mocha Minutes, the genesis of it to the evolution of it, what that process looked like, what hurdles she had to overcome and work through. And so I want you all to welcome my sweet guest, Miss Stephanie Sunshine Williams of Mocha Minutes. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing wonderful on this Saturday. The sun is shining. There is no snow. It actually looks like spring.
Girl, well, it's cold here in St. Louis, and it's raining. It's been raining for the last few days. So, yeah, it doesn't look like spring has stopped by or is staying for, a while
did you guys
at all.
Get snow?
So we did not get snow, thank God, but we just been getting a lot of rain, which is okay. But as long as if it could just warm up, that would be really, really great,
Yeah.
But
first day of spring, we got snow.
Yeah, and where are you at?
I'm in Maryland, so first day of spring. It's
okay.
It's
so
snowing.
Wow. Did you get out and play in the snow?
Not really, because I was at work when it happened, so I wasn't really out, unfortunately. But it was like, it's late March. Well, snow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I could tell you that Baltimore is where it's at. Like, I have a lot of people, friends, and people that I've worked with from the Baltimore area, and y'all are doing it up there. Let me tell you all about Stephanie before we start talking anymore. So she's, as she said, she's a Baltimore native. She is a fellow podcaster. She hosts the show Mocha Minutes, where she engages her audience and she shares thoughts on current events. She's is a Towson State University graduate?
Yeah, Towson University, yeah.
Okay, good. Now, among podcasting, this is something that Stephanie and I share. We have in common. She's a gifted singer, a keen observer, and a blogger who always stands up for what she believes. And so I'm proud to be talking to you today. It sounds like you have a lot going on, for yourself and using the gifts that God has given you. And so I just want to say kudos to you. Tell us a little bit about Mocha Minutes. Give us some more insight about that. Like, when does the show air, and how do you go about, picking your topics? Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm humbled by your sweet words. I appreciate that. Mocha Minutes is my little safe space in my mind. I mean, you can only say it's safe by so much, considering that you're putting it out into the void and seeing who hears it. But it's my space where I talk about sometimes it's current events, and in our day and age, it's a lot to talk about, but I try to hone it down to like 3 or 4 topics. I want to talk about at least a fun topic, and for me, fun is television or reality TV or scripted TV, depending on what it is. Fun for me also is talking about sports, and I'm just talking about on the field. Off the field is something a little bit different, but I also like to talk about current events, social events, kind of like things you may see on Twitter, things that may become like a debate, or something that I see that should be talked about. I also like to talk about like political events, our political climate that's going on right now, stuff that may be centered around the president or stuff that's presidential adjacent. But I like to talk about those things and to give those things a voice, and also provide a perspective that sometimes people don't always hear. Right. Because I don't like to be contrary, but sometimes I think when you're standing up for something right and everybody else doesn't see it that way, it may sound contrary. Right. It's easy to go with the flow of the river. It's harder to go against the current. Yeah. Sometimes when you have to stand up for something that is right, when you're just looking at basic human decency, you may be fighting against the current.
Yeah. Yeah. When you are standing alone and you are fighting against the current, how do you manage that, like emotional wise? Like when you're just, different, your perspective is different. How do you manage like feeling maybe as though you're, when let me say it this way, when we as African American women, when we step up and we share our difference of opinion, sometimes we could be labeled as combative or, just difficult. But when you do that and you stand in your truth, how do you personally manage the emotional side of maybe being labeled as difficult or combative?
That is a hard tightrope to walk, because I find myself sometimes saying how I feel, weighing my words. I think that's the other part that helps, is when you actually measure your words and weigh them to make sure, one, you're articulating yourself the way that you want to, especially when you're in a debate. I think sometimes people just fly off the handle, and it's good to have emotion in your speech, but sometimes you got to come with hard facts. And you also have to realize, think before you speak. So I try to think as much as I can. So sometimes I take a deep breath and say what I want to say. And if the person still isn't getting it, I'm not one to just go, okay, I need you to see what I'm seeing. Because sometimes people won't see what you're saying, and you have to be okay with that.
And
that's
you
the
have
other
to be
part.
okay with that.
You have to be okay with it. Because once you realize, like, hey, I've said what I've said, this is my opinion, there are going to be some people like, hey, I still don't understand. I still don't agree. And you have to say, okay, and be okay with that. Because a lot of times we're not okay when someone doesn't hear us. And it's easy for me to say that on a podcast when you can speak and no one's really arguing back and forth with you. But when you do get that feedback, you have to be okay with it. And that is something that I'm starting to learn. So if you get into a heated debate, as I have, and it's mostly on social media, where I'm like, you know what, I just need to take a step back. I have said my piece. They have their stance. I have mine. And I'm going to have to take a step back, because taking a step back from the situation is self-care. You always have to guard yourself. You always have to take care of yourself. And I want us as Black women to take care of ourselves better, because we're so used to being the backbone. We're so used to being the support. We're so used to fighting for fighting for everybody, and no one is fighting for us. If no one's fighting for you, fight for yourself. It's like, look, you know what? I gotta take a step back from that.
You do, and that's a very good topic, and I'm going to talk about that, for women. But I have a question for you. When did you know you wanted to start your podcast?
So I had been fighting against it. I had been talking about my podcast debuted last September, but I had been talking about doing a podcast since January of 2017, and I didn't even start until September. Because I had been fighting against it. I was like, what if no one listens? What if no one understands? What if I don't sound right? What if it's dumb? I mean, it's just simple, minute things. You're like, what if everybody thinks it's stupid? What if everybody doesn't like me? And then when you start doing a podcast, you realize you're not doing it for likes. You're not doing it to get people to like you. You're doing it for you. And if you enjoy your podcast, you're going to want to keep doing it. And that's something I didn't realize until I started doing it, and when I started having to do it by myself.
Yeah. How did you work through those feelings of, like, what if nobody likes it, or what if no one listens, and what am I going to talk about? Like, what did you do to get through that and make your podcast happen?
Well, I got through, it was mostly through encouragement of other people. It was encouragement of friends of mine. It was encouragement of, I had just hosted a podcast of a podcaster here in D.C., and this was around the time where I'm like, oh, do I want to do a podcast? I don't know. And I guest hosted on our podcast, and I was, of course, super nervous because it was the first time I was literally on a mic. And so I was like, I think I can do this. Because at first I was like, what if my voice sounds bad? I'm like, okay, my voice doesn't sound bad. Stephanie, that's not the problem. So, of course, it's like you're always inventing problems in your head.
Absolutely.
And I think the biggest thing that I did was to stop getting in my own way. Because the only person that was telling Stephanie that she couldn't do it was Stephanie. Stephanie was saying she couldn't do it. And it's like, it was like pulling off a Band-Aid. I'm like, or better yet, like, you know how they do bungee jumping and sometimes they push you off? It was like I pushed myself off.
Yeah,
like,
and that sounds so familiar, because I was approached about doing a podcast, and at first I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, and excited because I was looking for another platform. When you're a blogger, an author, there are certain things you have to say verbally, some things you can put in the book, but some things you have to, like, literally speak out. And so I wanted a platform like that. But when the opportunity came, like, man, I was super scared. I'm like, I don't even know what the title would be. I don't know. I love conversation, so that's never an issue. And I always love learning new things. But we were supposed to start in January of 2017. I think it was one of them years. But we started in March. I know I launched in March of last year. And when I got the vision, I just ran with it. And you just learn. I think that a lot of people, we think, and tell me if you agree with this, like, we think we're supposed to know everything about that particular thing before we start, and we forget that we'll learn along the way. I know that that's what it was for me.
Yeah.
You'll learn along the way. And so what for you has been like the most rewarding piece of this experience of making it happen, making your podcast happen?
The most rewarding thing is the relationships I've been able to build. When I first started the podcast, I actually had a co-host, and we had started out. We were like maybe 3 episodes in when she had this revelation that this was not for her, and she was only doing it because I asked her to, but she really didn't want to do it. And so she's like, Stephanie, I really think you should do it by yourself. You'll be fine. You don't need me. And I think at the time, of course, it hurts because you're like, you have this idea in your head of what you want your podcast to be, and then you have to change it. And I think it's been such a blessing in disguise because I think about the relationships I've built with other podcasters that I've been able to meet, and I think a lot of it is because I'm a solo podcaster now. It is making me step outside of my comfort zone because I'm a shy person. Everybody doesn't believe me. I wouldn't say I'm an introvert, but I know I'm definitely shy. So I have always been kind of like, I will always be kind of passive about a lot of things, but podcasting makes you become a little aggressive.
Yeah.
And it made me aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So building relationships with other podcasters, it's made me be a little aggressive and actually getting to know other people, hearing different point of views, or finding like-minded people that I can have really good conversations with. And I've had really good conversations. And I'm like, this would have never happened if I just went, oh, it's just going to be me and my co-host, and we're just going to be 2 women against the world and, forget everyone else. And that's not how that works. It's like, even if it was just us 2, I'm like, it still wouldn't work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to, for anyone that's just joining in, I want to let you know that you're listening to the From Powerless to Powerful show with your host, Rise and Win Coach, Cynthia Newell of Dare to Dream. And if you have not stopped by my website to grab your free copy of my ebook, Creating Your Life, I want you to do so today. You can go to www.cynthiasnewell.com. This book will help you to get clear about what you most desire and help you to define the pathway to it. And so it's yours just for signing up. We're talking today to podcaster, Mocha Minutes podcaster, Stephanie Williams from fiery Baltimore, who's a little cold right now. They have some snow there. But she's just sharing her journey. Yes, she's just sharing her journey of how she made it happen, the oppositions that she faced, a co-host, just, I hate to use this word, but ditching her, and shortly after they started the show. Yeah. But we'll just say the vision unfolded as it was supposed to. And now, Stephanie, how often do you host your podcast, or how can listeners find your podcast?
Oh, sure. So it's a weekly podcast. It comes out on Tuesdays. And, I didn't realize that until like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, Tuesday's a very popular day for podcasts. But mine is a weekly podcast that comes out on Tuesday. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, a lot of people have their podcasts on Tuesday.
Okay. I'm going to have to change my time to Tuesday. No, I'm kidding. So you said that you talk about, and then, don't forget to tell them how. How can they find it?
Oh, sure. You can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts, a.k.a. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Spotify.
Awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, God, I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something.
It's
so for anyone that is, and I'm looking at my notes trying to figure out what I'm, but what would you tell someone that, has, desires and dreams and things that they want to do? What are some tips having gone through the process of making a dream happen in your life and overcoming, what would you offer them, like when they feel hopeless or feel like giving up or throwing in the towel?
That's a good question, because I found myself wanting to stop, and I was so glad that I didn't. First thing is to definitely bring back the center why you're exactly doing it, and make sure that you're doing this for you and that you like what you're doing, because it's easy to just put out a podcast and just put it out just to put it out, and you don't even listen to it and you don't even like it. So if you don't like what you're putting out, why would you expect people listening to it to like what they hear? So you have to be your biggest fan of whatever you're trying to create. So if you don't like it, that's going to come across. People can tell, like, you're really not into this, are you? You're just going through the motions, aren't you? People can tell, and I've heard other podcasts, and I've listened. I've recorded intros. I'm like, I don't like that, and I've re-recorded it because I didn't feel anything from it. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to just re-record this. It sounds very like crazy to just re-record, but it's like, if you don't like it, that's gonna come through.
It will come through.
And definitely do stuff that you love to do. Don't just do things to get likes. Don't just do things to get money. Money is an easy thing to get. Likes are so easy to get, but passion is so hard to get, I'm finding out. If you have a passion for something, nothing's going to stand in your way.
That's so true. So true.
Yeah.
So true. Well said. So I have a question. I remember what my question was. So with the topics that you talk about, do you allow guests to write in and, ask questions or submit topics for discussion, like on your social media platforms or like via email or anything?
Do offer people to give me feedback, but that's a good point. I should ask people to write in topics like, hey, why don't you talk about this? I am very open to that. I just haven't done it yet, but I always offer the email like, hey, I would love to hear from you. Definitely am very active on my socials, so I'm like, please give me feedback. But that's a good idea.
Yeah, because it sounds like a really good topic. Like, I don't think I've ever really visited like socially. Well, sometimes I'll talk about things that I feel very passionate about, but my passion is helping people see the internal strength that they have. Like, the external factors are no match for who we are internally, and I think that's why, I know that's why I named the podcast From Powerless to Powerful, because, early on in our lives, we get this programming unintentionally a lot of times through our parents and our teachers and things around us, and we can become easily positioned as powerless individuals. And then as you grow, and you just kind of pay attention to yourself, you begin to see, I'm really powerful. Or you'll have those moments where it'll hit and miss, like you may want something and you manifest it this time, but then another time it seems like it's so much harder to manifest it, and it's just about being in tune with who God created you to be, being one with God, and so that's always been my passion, because life, it can be difficult, it can be challenging when you have a perspective about it that is unhealthy. So my question to you is, if you identified some unhealthy perspectives that you held about life that you changed. I know you talked about, believing in yourself earlier and stepping out to just really be adamant that your voice matters. But what are some things that you would identify that you had to work through as far as, girl, my mind, I got something to oh, forgive me, but, some that you had to work through and just really shift and change in order to be successful, not just with your podcast, but just showing up in life, period, like putting the best version of yourself or a better version every day of yourself out? I hope that question made sense. Okay,
no, it totally does. Okay. It totally does. You know what? Time hop is your best friend and your worst enemy. And you look at what some of the things you used to say, you're like, wow, I used to be a horrible person.
Oh, my goodness.
To think about, well, not horrible, but someone who obviously was not enlightened. Someone who really did not grasp the whole picture of the world and had such a myopic view on a lot of things. One of them was how patriarchy works. One of them was about femininity. One of them was how to give basic humanity to everybody, no matter if they look like you, if they identify like you, or if they have the same sexuality as you. That was something that I had to work through because, one, I don't know about everybody else, but the God I know is love. One, he did not create us to hate.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We are his most perfect creation, and we treat each other so horribly. And that's a interesting thing to see, and you just go, man, what are we doing? What are we doing? And you have to work through that. You just go, wow, I used to say stuff like that. Man, I'm glad I've been delivered from that. Time hop will just humble you a little bit. Like, whoa, I used to say something like that.
I know exactly what you mean, and just being real honest, with yourself. Yeah. So if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I honestly would be, and this sounds really funny after the discussion we've been having, to be more courageous.
Okay.
I look at people who are activists, and I'm just like that, just going, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could be that brave. But also being courageous enough to stand up and say, hey, that is not right. It's like, that is not okay. I see people attacking innocent people, and I just go, why are you doing that? Like, why? And also being courageous enough to love who I am right now. Because I think it takes a lot of courage to love the person you see in the mirror.
Yeah,
and that's taken me a long time, and that's a lifetime of work to love yourself.
Yeah,
and that's a courageous thing to go, I love me.
Yeah. And you make it happen every day by making conscious decisions, being mindful of what you say and how you treat people, not being judgmental. Making it happen is being aware. It's being fully present. Whatever the it is, you have to be fully aware, fully engaged, and play full on. You have to be there.
Yeah.
So, the purpose of this show was really to encourage individuals, no matter what your it is, you'll always have opposition. You'll always have something that will present itself to seem like it's bigger. And that bigger than you and bigger than your faith, but it's not. It's just an illusion. And if you, be brave enough and courageous enough, you can work through it. And it may not be a flick of the switch where it may, immediately go away, but gradually over time you'll notice a change within yourself, and so it's just about making that decision that I'm going to make it happen. You have to even make a decision that you will believe that it will happen, before you make a decision to start taking the action towards making it happen, just faith. And it sounds like that's been a central theme for you in the things that you've shared about your life, faith, and then love. Love has to be the foundation.
Absolutely.
Because, without love, you just really can't go too far. You cannot go very far at all without love. How can listeners connect with you? Tell them again how they can find your podcast and connect with you on social media.
Sure. So the Mocha Minutes podcast is on Apple Podcasts, aka I like to say aka iTunes because some people say Apple Podcasts and some people say iTunes. I'm on Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Spotify, and I have submitted to get onto iHeartRadio. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Mocha Minutes, all three of those platforms. And so that's how you can find me.
Wonderful. Well, Stephanie, I hope being on today's podcast was worth your time.
It was. I enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I just have a vision and a heart for people, for us to just be our best selves, even when, life feels heavy and overwhelming. And at times it does, as I shared on last podcast, I was facing some tough things, in my marriage, but they're not tougher than me because of the substance and, who I am as an individual and what I've learned. And so I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing, giving voice to women, young girls, through your show, through the things you talk about, standing brave, going against the current, being courageous. Even though you want to be more courageous, your level of courage has increased. And young girls, they need to see more of their big sisters out here standing in our truth, being who we were created to be. And so I want to say kudos to you for the work that you do, and showing up and sharing yourself in the magnitude that you do. Stephanie and I, we met in a podcasters group on Facebook. So we don't personally know each other, but we know the importance of the work that we do. And so I just want to say thank you. I know you have to do your recording for your podcast, and so I don't want to go over, but did you have any last words that you wanted to share with the listeners?
Just definitely thank you again for the opportunity, and also for those out there who are thinking about making a leap into anything creative, realize that your support may come from a place that you just were not expecting. And also, if you allow the people in your life to support you, give them the space to do that. Because sometimes you may not want to share with them or not want to be out there because you're like, what will my family think? But if you give them the space to support you, they will. Because your family will always support you.
Really great. That's really great. That's good information. Well, for everyone that's been listening, you have been blessed by Miss Stephanie Sunshine Williams of Mocha Minutes. She shared how you can connect with her on all social media platforms. You can find her at Mocha Minutes. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, I just encourage you to share it with someone. Like the Facebook page from Powerless to Powerful. Leave your comments there. You can also, email me if you have a topic or something that you want to make happen and you need some support or encouragement. Email me at emailcoachcynthia@gmail.com. And until next time, and Stephanie, if you have to go, you can go ahead and release the line. It's okay.
Okay, thank you, guys.
All right. God bless you.
God bless you. Have a good one.
You too. You too. We'll be here again in 2 weeks to talk again. I can't remember who my lineup is, but I have some great shows lined up for you guys. We're moving into season 4, and season 4 is really about opening your heart and standing and walking in the call of God. We're going to be talking as a prophetic woman. I'm going to have some prophetess Leslie Brown on. She's going to be talking about walking in your prophetic call. We're going to be talking about the different ways that God speaks to you. For me, God uses animals to speak to me, and it's not really something that we talk about in the church, but if we look in the Word of God, we will see references of animals all throughout the scriptures. And so we're going to be talking about that, the different messages that, animals bring to you from the spirit world. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how to keep joy on the journey because, as Stephanie and I just talked about, there are times where you get frustrated, you get downhearted, downtrodden, overwhelmed. How do you maintain that joy? The word of the Lord says, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And so we know that joy is important on the journey of becoming who God has sent you to this earth to become. So a lot of great shows lined up for you. If you are in the St. Louis area, I want to personally extend an invitation to you for my second annual Sisterhood Empowerment Walk. Now, you can find more information about the walk on my website. You just go to CynthiaSNewell.com, and you're going to click on the link that says 2018 SEW, and all the details are there. The registration is free. You're going to have so much fun at this walk. God has given me a broader vision, and he sent me a team to help bring it to fruition. And so I want you to grab your girlfriends, and I want you to come out and enjoy a really great time. I have some awesome vendors who will be in the place. And for those listeners who live in St. Louis who have, or the surrounding areas, if you have a daughter who is the age of 8 through 16, I want to invite you to have your daughter enter into my essay writing contest, which is I Am Beautiful Because. And in that essay, they get to tell what makes them spiritually, emotionally, physically, and mentally beautiful. The essay is 10 to 25 sentences, and the girls have opportunities to win a $100 gift card and a professional photo shoot, or they can win a $75 gift card or a $50 gift card. And I still have more sponsors coming in to say that they want to be a part of this. So we will definitely be adding more prizes to the list. But I want our young girls to be empowered and not be defined by what they see on these magazine covers and these music videos and what they see on television. But I want our girls to be able to stand strong in the beauty that they hold. And I want them to know the beauty that they behold. And so this can be a life-changing experience for your daughter and a moment of bonding for you and your daughter. So please check out my webpage, CynthiaSNewell.com. You'll find the link there under the Sisterhood Empowerment Walk event page. You can sign your daughter up for that. She can submit her essay right there on the website, okay? So until next time, I want you to be blessed. Make sure you follow me on social media, from Powerless to Powerful. You can also follow me at Dare to Dream Spiritual Life Coaching Practice. I'm on Facebook. I am on Twitter under Dare to Dream. And I do look forward to talking with you in 2 more weeks. Keep praying for me as I go higher in God. As you go higher, things come at you stronger. But greater is he that is in me than he is in the world. And where 1 could put 1,000 a flight, 2 could put 10,000 a flight. So I do solicit your prayers. And until next time, I hope you make it a great day. Bye.